Maundy Thursday's Gospel readings. The verse before the Gospel, John 13:34. I give you a new commandment, says the Lord. Love one another as I have loved you. The main Gospel reading is John chapter 13, verses 1 to 15. Before the feast of Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to pass from this world to the Father. He loved his own in the world, and he loved them to the end. And the devil had already induced Judas, son of Simon the Iscariot, to hand him over. So during supper, fully aware that the Father had put everything into his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God, he rose from supper and took off his outer garments, took a towel and tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, and dry them with the towel around his waist. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Master, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus answered and said to him, What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will understand later. And Peter said to him, You will never wash my feet. And Jesus answered him, Unless I wash you, you will have no inheritance with me. And Simon Peter said to him, Master, then, not only my feet, but my hands and head as well. Jesus said to him, Whoever has bathed has no need except to have his feet washed, for he is clean all over. So you are clean, but not all. For he knew who would betray him. For this reason he said, Not all of you are clean. So when he had washed their feet and put his garments back on and reclined at the table again, he said to them, Do you realize what I have done for you? You call me teacher and master, and rightly so, for indeed I am. If I, therefore, the master and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. I have given you a model to follow, so that as I have done for you, you should also do. The use of service gospel reflection. The scene in Maundy or Holy Thursday is forthright, but it's not so simple to understand at first. The word Maundy comes from the Old French monde, in turn from the Latin mandatum, which means mandate or command. It was God's mandate or command that Jesus be the ultimate loving example as a master and teacher to his disciples. Having known he will be sentenced to death the next day, he had little time left with those who were not only his disciples but his friends. This, along with the Eucharist or communion, was a final gift to his friends as a humble servant. Jesus by this time had shown loving examples, but it was a final example of loving humility necessary to be demonstrated specifically for these men. It would be these men who would be the foundation of the Christian faith and building the church going forward. It was therefore imperative each of them would know and live this kind of humility for the church to flourish in the way God intended through the example of Jesus. This example of humility to wash another's feet ties in with the verse before the gospel, Love one another as I have loved you. So the daring questions are we prepared to humble ourselves to the extent of this gospel reading? And what would it take to reach such selfless love and humility?